Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Alex Avila with Love University, and we're back. I'm an author, psychologist, and speaker. Every week, we talk about how to love ourselves, others, and higher nature, how to improve our finances, career, spiritual, emotional, and physical health. And we have a very interesting guest today who's going to talk about love, sex, and romance. This is Jacqueline Hellyer, an accredited psychosocial therapist, relationship coach, author. She has various degrees. It's hard to count them: biochemistry, languages, sexual health, transpersonal psychology. And she's one of the world's leading experts on love, sex, and romance. Her work has appeared on Channel 7 Morning Show, the Tantric Lounge, and she has written over 300 articles on these topics. She's also interestingly trained in martial arts in Aikido, the way of harmony, and she lives with her family in Sydney, Australia. Welcome, Jacqueline, to the show.
Great pleasure to be here. Thank you.
And you have a sexy accent from Australia, so we don't hear that too often out here. We love.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, we love that accent. Now, one thing, Jacqueline, I know you're an expert worldwide. You do a lot of coaching and conferences on love and sex.
Yes.
And the idea of love in the times of COVID is one of your themes that you're talking about. And the idea that we're kind of like being almost forced to spend more time with our mates and our partners now at home, which can be a positive, maybe can be a negative. Some people, like, they spend too much time, maybe they fight a lot. But you also talk about the idea of slowing down a little bit and taking a break from, the rush of life and, spending more intimate time together. It kind of reminds me of the Jewish tradition called the Shemitah, which is the year of Sabbath, where every 7 years the land rests, so you don't work on the land. It agriculturally stops to let the land recuperate. So this is almost like that kind of thing, where people are taking time maybe to reconnect. And you use the word commune. And also before play, which is kind of like before making love, you actually spend time with the person and kind of smooth into the situation. So tell us more about that. How do we have better love and sex in times of COVID?
Yes. Well, as you so rightly say, we're being forced to spend more time with each other. Yes. And I found it interesting, and so many of my colleagues have as well over the last year, that we're getting a lot more clients coming to us. There's a lot more couples coming to us and saying, wow, this is really important.
Yes.
So, yes, there are the couples who are finding that spending this time together is causing friction and, they need to sort out a lot of their issues around communication and getting on better. But there's also been this huge number of people who are saying, well, actually, yes, we have the time now. Because we're not sort of in separate offices at the other end of the city, we're at home. And it's easy for us to take an hour out to have a session and to actually start looking at, what is this sex and love and intimacy thing? Like, what's it all about? Yes. And so many people come to me and they say, there's got to be more to this. And we don't know what it is. And we think you do. And they're right. I do, because I've devoted my life to this.
Yes. So tell us a couple of tips. I know you mentioned things like having tea together, walking, holding hands in the park. Is it that simple? Yes. Is that all it takes to be in love with a person? What are some of the tips that you can give us in times of COVID?
Yes, absolutely. And a lot of it is very simple. Often when I'm talking to people, they go, oh, wow, duh, like this is kind of pretty self-evident. Yes. But until someone brings it to your attention, you don't know. And, it's a lot like if you want to be good at anything in life, you've got to focus on it. And generally it's lots of little things. If you want good health, it's about focus on little things. If you want good wealth, it's focus on little things. So, yes, it's the same with relationships. And it is about spending little small amounts of time actually attending to each other.
Okay. So, Jacqueline, a client tells you, me and my wife, we haven't had sex in 3 weeks. We're at each other's throats. The kids are at home. It's. So what do we do, Jacqueline? Tell us some advice. How do we recapture this without spending too much money, because we're kind of broke?
Oh, yeah. Well, you don't have to spend money on this, right? In fact, one of the lovely things about having a quality relationship is that the relationship itself is what makes you good. So you don't have to spend money on it. But often what I say paradoxically is stop thinking about sex, right? Because it's kind of like thinking about a meal and only ever thinking about dessert. So, there's so much that comes before that, as you mentioned, the before play. Yes. So it's about spending some time. Wait until, for instance, the kids have gone down to bed. Come back together, cup of tea, glass of wine, whatever your thing is. Don't put the television on. Look at each other, breathe, look into each other's eyes.
Right.
And often just the looking into each other's eyes, kind of what it does, and actually what it's doing biologically, is
Yes.
it's aligning you, it's synchronizing your brain waves, your heart rate, a whole heap of things come into play
Right.
when you take the time to stop, right? Your whole nervous system gets into balance. You're actually co-regulating each other's nervous system.
Yes.
And when you take that time, you actually remember, oh, it's you. Oh, I remember you.
Ah, exactly.
Right?
Right.
And then the heart opens.
Yes.
And you can find each other again.
I like that because, basically we're kind of souls in human bodies, but we forget that. And then we kind of like machines, right? We run around, rushing around, driving, and especially we're in California here, LA, California. So everyone is kind of feeling pressure, but slowing down, like you said, taking time. We have actually a therapist that's one of our regulars on the show. She's a great gal. She talks about taking sacred baths with your partner, with incense and music, and just kind of lying there, just be in the bath and kind of a spiritual meditation. Do you recommend things like that?
Yes, it's actually the spiritual element of sexuality is something that has been removed from the Western concept of what sex is, which is part of the problem. Right. So, we've got love over here, which is all good and pure and beautiful. And then over here, we've got sex, which is kind of still a bit problematic, and it's like they're two different things.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whereas when you
go ahead.
combine the two.
Yes.
And you do need space for that. I'm a big fan. Love the bathroom, make it romantic. But I'm always talking about make your bedroom a sanctuary.
Oh, okay. That's nice.
Yeah?
Yes.
Make sure it's beautiful so that it's a place that you can go to.
Right.
And leave the world behind.
Well, right now, Jacqueline, I'm seeing beautiful plants behind you. I'm seeing a very beautiful environment. So I can see that that's kind of a sensual kind of environment. For love, right?
Yes.
And for romance. Now, one thing,
absolutely.
One thing you talk about, Jacqueline, is very interesting. Is you say that sex and love are disconnected from each other, and that the clinical advice today is bigger, harder, faster in terms of sex. And then the other idea is people have pressure mentally to perform. Have to have X number of orgasms, and then we have a premature ejaculation, we have impotence, we have lack of desire also in females, and that comes a lot from that expectation of pressure. So you're saying that we got to move beyond that. So you call it the third wave of sexuality, where it's beyond both shame and also you mentioned sleaze, which I assume is like an obsession with certain sexual forms, and also the guilt, right? The guilt or shame that I shouldn't be doing this kind of stuff. So how do people find the middle ground between those two things, between wanting sexual interaction and love, and not being afraid of or guilty of it or obsessed by it?
Yes. So it's part about merging the two together and understanding that our sexuality is part of our expression of love. So when we start looking at the sexual act as an expression of love, and when we start looking at our sexual organs as organs of love, then it starts shifting the whole thing, right? And we can start clearing a lot of that shame and guilt and fear that inevitably in the Western society is still there, because for thousands of years, that was the message. And it's only very recently that that's shifted. But when the world opened up to sex is good, we should all like sex back in the 60s and 70s, we didn't yet have the maturity as a society to know what to do with that.
Right.
And the view of sex that we had was still so limited. It was really, if I can say this, it's masturbatory. It's about like getting off. The idea that you have sex because you're already aroused, you're already horny, you're already like, I want to do it. And if you're not feeling that arousal, then I don't want to do it, because we confuse desire and arousal. And we think that arousal is a sign of desire. So everyone's sitting around waiting for the lust to descend. Come on, lust, and it's not going to, not in long-term relationships.
Right.
You actually have to co-create that. So you start with desire. Now think about desire. Desire is a transitive verb. Desire is, I desire something, I desire you. And it's an upper body concept.
Right.
I'm talking about lovemaking. It's like, I desire you from the heart. I love you. I want to have a beautiful experience with you. Or it can be a thought. I would like to have some sex. I'd like to make love with you. Great. How do I go about doing it? When can we find the time? So this is upper body. And generally we need to start with that and then do the things that then allows the physical arousal, right? And so we have responsive arousal rather than spontaneous.
Yes.
And in long-term relationships, this is what we need to do.
Exactly. Now, in Australia, are you similar to the U.S.? No, you're very handsy. I can see you're very emotive there. You have a lot of passion yourself. I can see that, right? A lot of spice, huh? I would think.
Yeah.
Are Australians like Americans in the sexual, either guilt or obsession? I mean, or are they different, do you think?
Look, I think it's a Western thing, really. It's just, and unfortunately the West conquered the entire world. So even those cultures, that used to have very open, positive attitudes to sexuality, we just kind of brought all of that guilt and so forth.
I see. Now you do research now. This is interesting that you're doing research, I think, with couples, and you call this transformative potential of optimal sexuality in relational context, which sounds kind of an academic way. But you sound like having great sex in a relationship, I guess that's healing and healthy. You talk about things like being emotionally present, aware of making love or being intimate, being emotionally aligned with your partner, respecting and accepting each other. You also talk about empathy, which is a very important thing we talk about at Love University, putting yourself in their shoes. Interpersonal risk-taking, which he says as adventure. And then also authenticity and transcendence. So these are very kind of high, lofty spiritual terms.
They are.
And also, I know you do biochemical work. So the idea that, a good sex can release endorphins, painkillers, and also oxytocin, a hormone, that it's a bonding hormone. And actually, they did a study where they actually found that couples in love were able to heal their suction blisters faster than those that weren't. So it can actually heal blisters or heal physical illnesses, this kind of love. So tell us more about that.
Absolutely.
Tell us what you're trying to find out with your research here.
Yes, exactly. So when we look at sex holistically, rather than just a physical, biological urge to procreate or even just for pleasure, but it is also bonding. So it's interpersonal. This is part of why I'm interested in transpersonal psychology, or I consider myself a transpersonal sexologist. Yes. But it goes beyond even that. It transforms us and it opens us up to the higher order parts of being human. It can even become transcendent. So when you engage in lovemaking, and I use that word advisedly, I'm not being coy by saying lovemaking instead of sex, because too often when we think of the word sex, we go straight to the genitals. It's all about the penis and vagina, or the genital friction, shall we say, right? So once we start thinking about lovemaking, then we start taking a slower, more focused, really it's about embodied mindfulness. So we're taking the time to become embodied. We sink into ourselves, S-I-N-K. So we sink into ourselves so that we can sink in with our partner, S-Y-N-C, synchronize with our partner. Okay. And when we start doing that, what's happening within our bodies is really interesting in terms of what our nervous systems are doing and brain waves and so forth. And then that's what links in with those more spiritual, soulful elements where we do open up to love. And I read some of this beautiful concept that that this kind of lovemaking makes us porous to the spiritual energies.
Wow, that's pretty nice. I like that.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jacqueline, I from my Latin background, I like to do salsa dancing. So I kind of see, dance, couple dancing can be that kind of harmony, that kind of connection you're talking about.
Yes.
So there's a flow of energies.
Absolutely.
Now you do mention interpersonal risk taking. So I wonder what that means. Is that something that you have to excitement, or what are we looking for there in risk taking?
Yes, because, to live our full life, we don't want to keep ourselves small.
Right.
We want to explore and experience, and that's where a lot of the growth is.
Right.
And we can do this sexually as well. And, often when we talk about risk-taking, sex, we sort of go straight to these really out there pornographic kind of stuff, which is fine if you want to do it. But really what it's about is as a couple being able to create this safe space, this container in which you can be truly open and authentic.
Right.
And within that, sex is playtime for grown-ups. Sex is a space where we can try different things, where, we can bring in some, the excitement and the pleasure and the passion and, whatever that is for you. For some people it might be as simple as turning the lights on. Right. Other people it might be going off to a swingers club or something. There's just so many ways that we can be brave to take risks because I trust you not to judge me, and vice versa. And where shall we go with this?
Exactly. Yeah, you sound like a very fun person. I can see, you get that energy. So, the other thing is they've done studies on what's called misattribution of arousal, where you put people in situations where there's danger, like the bridge is going to collapse, and the other one, the bridge is fine. And the ones where the bridge collapses, you're more attracted to that person that you're around. It's kind of like the excitement and, the thrill, and also the safety of, that can help you kind of increases attraction. Yes. So even going to a scary movie or taking a roller coaster for some people can actually create that arousal and sexual and emotional excitement. So that's kind of interesting.
Yes.
Now I want to ask,
but you can only do that if you're safe, right?
Well, of course,
you only go on that roller coaster if you know you're going to be safe.
Yeah, if you're going to be killed, you don't want to do that, right? Exactly.
Yeah, we have to create safety ourselves.
Definitely. Yes. Now, one thing I really need your help here, Jacqueline. I hope you can help me. I have my producer here, Reggie, who's very shy.
Yes.
Come here, Reggie. Come over here. He's a great guy. He's going to help with this little thing here. Say hi to Reggie, my producer.
Hello, Reggie.
Hi, Jacqueline.
Now, Reggie has never really had a sexual experience. He's almost 30 years old. He's extremely shy.
Right.
And I've been helping him a little bit. And I have a bet where I would pay for his date, for $100 if you can find that lady that's romantic. And it's been a couple of years, right? You haven't been able to quite do it yet.
So called. We went on a date, I remember.
But I mean the romantic,
to become a partner.
Yeah, exactly. So, so what can you help a guy like Reggie? I mean, he's a wonderful guy. He's in what we call the friend zone, where he's the best friend of all these women. Very nice guy, but then he can't take it to the next level. So I know you do the black belt. So let's give him a black belt in love here. Or what do we do for him?
A mini black belt.
Okay, mini black belt.
Second version. Yeah. So, Reggie, a lot of what men in your situation do is they're actually paradoxically too focused on the partner, on the woman, right? What do I need to do to please her? What do I have to do that's right? So forget about that. I'm sure you're a lovely man, right? And start focusing on, what am I feeling here? What am I wanting here? What are my urges, right? So this is where you have to be embodied. You have to be paying attention to what's going on within you. Because if you're trying to get your brain to make all the decisions and run it for you, it can't. It doesn't have the information. What you're wanting to do in relation to this beautiful woman is going to be in your body. You're going to be feeling things in your chest. Yeah. Oh, she's nice. Oh, I'm feeling stuff. And then you need to start noticing what's actually happening down in your pelvis, in the sexual center, right? And
he's turning purple here. Are you okay, Reggie? He's a little blushy here. So, okay.
Yeah. And I like to think of sexual energy not as that horny arousal thing. I mean, that's one element of it. But that comes later. Really, the sexual energy is a vital life energy, and it's a creative energy. It's procreation. It's for creation. So when you just relax into your body, you're feeling into your heart. Yeah, she's lovely. You feel into your gut. Yeah, I'm kind of safe here. I'm breathing into my belly. It's all good. Feeling into your pelvis like, oh, there's something nice arising here within me. Yeah. And then something nice arising between the two of us. And you'll be looking at her and she'll be engaged with you. And then you might have an urge to sort of reach out your hand, and then you might hold her hand. That's really fun.
So you sound like a charisma that's natural coming from his desire, but is not focused on her. Like he might think I have to please her, win her over, right, Reggie? Or you're worried about what you're going to do wrong.
Yeah.
So you're kind of self-conscious, right? You get like shy. So she's talking about like absorbing that energy and then redirecting it, right? And the way you talk about it, I think you say the black belt is be with a beautiful woman, but without having to have sex with her, wanting to, but more or less absorb her energy, is what you're saying. So practically speaking, let's say, Reggie, you're being a beautiful woman. Let's say it's Jacqueline. She's single. What do you say to her? Let's say. Let's try that.
What's it called? Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Reggie.
Nice to meet you, Reggie.
Hi, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm feeling really good. I'm having a lovely interview at the moment, so I'm in a really nice space.
Okay,
Thanks
take
for
me to
asking.
the next level. Let's say you want to take her out and get your $100 date with with Dr. Avila, Love University.
Well, I just want to say, I think you're very lovely, and I'd like to get to know you better. So yeah, you want to? I gotta take you out for a drink sometime.
Oh, gee, shucks, I'm flattered. Thank you.
Okay, is that working for you, Jacqueline? Is that okay? What he's doing? Okay.
Yeah, it's just a shame you're on the other side of the world and you can't get in or out of Australia. We're locked in.
Okay, I think Jacqueline's turning purple too. She's a little blushy. Okay. Okay, so Jacqueline's as simple as that. So basically, you're saying rechannel the energy into the woman, but not like you trying to win her over, but you're just being yourself, right? And being confident. Yeah.
Yes, it's about two people coming together, especially at this phase of a relationship, which is, and keep in mind, Reggie, she's as nervous as you are.
Now, you notice he was nervous, right? Were you nervous, Reggie, as you did this?
This exercise?
Yes, visualizing that's a woman that you
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so he was nervous. Now, should he try to hide the nervousness, or is it okay that he showed, should he even say that he's a little nervous? I mean, what do you recommend?
Yeah, look, I think it's good to be open because chances are she's really nervous too. This is a scary phase for anybody. Like, as the woman, I'm thinking, does he like me? Am I okay? We have to realize that we're all fallible human beings here. Yeah. And, love and intimacy and desire, it's all a little bit scary and we're going into the unknown. So in a way, if you can get across this concept that, I'm taking a risk here, but I think you're worth it. I'm going to be vulnerable here. I'm going to back myself a little bit and just reach out to you. And then if you're just sort of focusing on yourself rather than, oh, my God, am I doing it right? It's all about her. Then if she's like, oh, thanks, Reg, nice idea, but, I'm thinking not, right? Then you're like, whatevs.
Right, so
okay. It's not this sort of like,
be confident, Reggie. Go out to Starbucks after the show, okay? Try to meet a nice person there, okay? And then say that Jacqueline recommended me. Okay, all right. Thanks for coming in.
Okay.
Thank you, Jacqueline.
Okay, that's your recommendation.
Thanks,
okay. Well, that's great. So
being brave, Reggie.
Yeah, Reggie. No, Reggie's a great guy. He's intelligent.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys have this issue, and I think I like the idea that you used the metaphor of Aikido, which is a soft martial art. I studied a little bit, which you join the person and then you redirect the energy, right? The opponent in this case, or the person. So he might even admit, I'm kind of feeling a little bit nervous, but such and such, and they might say the same. So that's a very positive thing to do, to redirect energy. And
absolutely.
Yes, and also you talk about something interesting. You said how to make love 1,000 times with the same woman and still be happy, instead of making love with 1,000 women and not be happy. Now, for some men, that may be a challenge because they like variety or, it's genetically programmed. So how do you get a man to really love making love with the same woman?
Interestingly, in my clinical experience, which is just many thousands of years with many thousands of people, so I've got a pretty good idea what's going on. I actually find that women get bored with the same partner more than men do.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Often the man's there, the husband's going, I just want to have sex with you or make love with you. And she's like, nah.
Okay.
Nah.
Right. But the black belt is for males, no? I mean, you're talking from the male perspective here in this case, no?
Well, for the black belt, but then I have my Luscious Woman course as well and workshops, which is for the women. Yes.
Right. But for the guys, let's just talk to the guys for now. So how do we tell the guys to, like you said, make love and enjoy that with the woman that you're with?
Yes. So, of course, variety is good because we can get bored. If you have the same meal every night, it gets a bit boring. Right. So, how do you sort of spice up every night's dinner? You do something a little bit different. And this is what we were talking about before, about that interpersonal risk-taking and being able to feel safe enough to be vulnerable and make suggestions and to not be judged or feel judged.
Yes.
So when you can do that, you can look at your partner over and over and over again and you say, it's you. And what are we going to create here?
Right.
It might be something from just the simplest little snuggle through to, hey, we need to go away for a weekend and let's pack up some goodie bag and let's talk about what we might like to get up to, and that will give you like this spark of energy, that vital sexual energy I'm talking about will start flowing within and between.
Right.
Whereas if you think the variety has to be lots of different people, you get jaded. You just turn into, a jaded old man who no one wants to sleep with anyway because, now you're past it. And, really, what is it about someone that draws you to them? This desire.
Right.
Is it just it's another set of genitals, right? Or is it this person who I have, committed myself to going on the journey of life with, who is infinitely interesting?
Yes.
who is constantly changing,
Right, exactly.
and with whom I can create this
Yes.
space.
I like that. Very nice.
Yeah.
Now, Jacqueline, when I taught psychology at the college, one time I had this very interesting student in India, from India, a woman who was married many years in an arranged marriage. She was happily married for many years. And she said her husband, when he was young, his mother told him some very powerful advice. He says, if you want to make love with many women, make love with only one woman. If you want to make love with one woman, make love with many women. So what it means is the idea that if you have a certain type, you keep repeating the same thing, but you don't go deeper into the person. But if you make love with that one woman, she can be many women to you over a long period of time. So that's kind of a very, like an onion that's being unpeeled. So I thought that was a very fascinating idea.
Exactly. I love that.
So
Thanks for sharing. I'm going to use that because that's exactly what I was trying to say.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Yes.
Now let's switch to women, because you were talking about women also have a lot of things they want to, improve, say in the love and sex. And you say that you have what you call, I think, the Luscious Woman program. And you say that a woman can ask and receive what she wants, emotionally, sexually, and romantically. She can have orgasms and also be healthier, happier, and juicier is your term. So kind of vibrant, I imagine. And then you talk about the love goddess or sex goddesses, I guess, or different archetypes of these different women. So I'm going to mention them to you, and then you can go deeper into them. So you say that one archetype is called the lady, who's centered within herself. She knows who she is. You also have the Amazon, which is the strong woman that's like your equal. You have the body, which is the fun, sexy, playful, type. The Madonna, which is the motherly, empathetic role, focusing on the partner. The seductress that can draw you in, kind of sensual. The maestra, which I assume is the artist of sex, the way she can create this environment. And then the earth gypsy, you say she's like a very surrender to the partner and to the experience. So tell us a little bit more about now. Can one woman be all of those? Or what if she says, I'm just mainly one or two, or I'm one or two types? Like I do the, okay, you can do either of those. Tell us about that.
Yes. And I also want to say it applies to men as well.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Really?
So when you do the black belt, you're also going through those 7 phases as well.
Okay.
Yes?
But you have different names. Do you have different terms for men that are similar to that?
Yeah, a little bit different. Yeah, there's the gentleman, there's the warrior, there's the merrymaker, there's the swain, the seducer, the maestro.
Did you say the swine? Like a pig? You said the swine?
Swain.
Swain. Oh, swain. Okay, not a pig, right? That's not a good one.
No. Sorry, that's my Australian accent.
Swain. Okay.
We flatten all our vowels.
What is a swain? What does that mean?
Well, it comes from the medieval times, and it means a lover. You know that idea back in medieval times where the man would get on bended knee and sing songs and recite poetry.
Very romantic, is that? Yeah. I see.
Okay. Yeah, it's that very...
I see. So then for ladies, tell us about these different types. What does a woman need to do to do these things?
Yes. So I see this in terms of becoming very empowered in your sexuality and being very whole in your sexuality. And most of us aren't. Men or women, because of this suppression we had for so long. So it starts with you. Who are you? Who are you as a whole person who's reasonably self-aware? We're never perfect. We get better and better in all these areas. But to be able to know yourself, like I was saying to Reggie, what are you feeling? What's going on for you? So that's where you start. If you can't do that, you can't go any further.
Yes.
And then I use kind of martial terms for the next level, which is about the engagement. Because as you said, I did Aikido, and the way of the warrior is to be able to meet your partner. And this is couple creates safety, because it's sort of like, well, what do I want? What's important here? What am I fearful of? And it's like a negotiation. And that can sound a little bit heavy, which is why the next one is the lightness and the playfulness, the bawdiness, merrymaking.
Okay.
And a little bit of a whatever attitude. As I said to Reggie, if she doesn't want to go with you, it's like, whatever, it's fine. I'll be creative somewhere else.
Okay.
And then from there, we need to focus on the other. That's where the real love and that tenderness and what's going on for you. I need to be aware of where you're at, right?
Yes.
And then I also need to be able to kind of let you know where I'm at. Like, this is what I'm wanting. Like, come to me. Seduction is the art of getting the other person to do what you want for your mutual benefit. And then we come into mastery, and this is the maestro or the maestra. This is where we kind of learn technique, and we can control and be responsible so that then our partner can go to that 7th level, which is the letting go. And you can't let go unless feel all the safety and you can trust your partner and you're self-aware and you're other aware.
Yes.
So all these levels, all these elements enable you to be able to both really just lose yourself in the experience.
It's very interesting. Now, are you saying that a one woman needs to be all seven, or can she say, I'm primarily one or two? Because I wrote a book called Love Types. That's a bestseller on Myers-Briggs and personality types. So I don't know if you've heard the Myers-Briggs, there's 16 different personalities. The idealistic philosopher, the mystic writer, and so forth. So most people are like a preference. They have one primary, they might have a secondary. So how does this work? And also Enneagram, you're familiar with the Enneagram. People can be one or two different versions. So in this case, how does it work? Do you need to be all seven or eight, or can you be one or two?
So the way I've developed this is what I just described, I think actually underpins everything. You need to be developed in all of these areas. Okay. And then there is another concept, a bit like your love types, which I'm also developing as well. Yes. And that's a bit more like your love languages. I have more of a preference to be more sensual or more playful. So what I'm talking about there is sort of what do each of us need to be able to do to be able to examine our sexuality, to be able to develop ourselves so that we can then express authentically in terms of the behaviors we want to engage in or the approaches, the more sensual or the more playful or the more physical and so forth, right? So that sort of comes on top of what I just described.
I see.
And because I believe that what we're missing in society is we go too far to like the behaviors and, what I'm wanting rather than what's underneath all of that? Like, how do I even know what that is? How do I know where you're at? How do we co-create something? So that's more what this is about.
I see. So you're seeing this at different levels, or are you developing these as a belt, or what is your idea with these goddesses?
Yeah, because you need to transcend but include everything that comes before.
Right.
So you can't engage and sort of negotiate and co-create with someone if you don't know yourself. So we start with self. Then we bring that into the engagement. And we can't be light and creative and carefree unless we've done that engagement and the negotiation and create safety, right? Yes. And unless we can take that light and creative approach, we can't then sort of starting, so who are you, right? And then unless you can pay attention to the other, you can't then sort of be, well, then who am I?
So you can't go on the roller coaster until you know it's a safe roller coaster, right? So you can't get too crazy out there.
Yes.
But once you do that, you can, raise your hands and scream, right? Have fun. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds
great. Yeah.
Now
it's all about how we get to that.
And kind of like a way to summarize this is interesting is you talk kind of about spiritual sexuality. And you say that a lot of sexuality is performance-oriented or it's kind of action-oriented. Yes. But the idea of engaging in what you call mindfulness, openness, bodyfulness, fully experiencing, being aware of everything, and transcendence, in a soulful way.
Yes.
And we talk about Tantra Sexuality, where people can make love, but also transcend, spiritually as well. Maybe imagine that they're in some heaven or something. Tell us about that. How do you incorporate Tantric sexuality or other forms of spiritual sexuality?
Yes. Now, I think this is really actually fundamental. And I think that ultimately this is why we have beautiful sex as humans, why we're capable of doing it. But as I said, in the West, it was all got suppressed and sex was bad and we shouldn't really want to do it. So, carnal rubbish, and the spirituality was here and it was separate from the earthly and it wasn't about the body. We were supposed to transcend that, which is crap. So, Tantric and, Taoist sexuality, Kadosha, like a lot of other cultures had a much better understanding of sexuality and its importance and how it can make us better people and lead to these states. Right. So I've studied Tantra as well and, it's all really good. The concepts are really good, but it's 5th century Indian culture. So I don't want to talk to people in contemporary Western society using that kind of framework. I don't want to talk Sanskrit language. It's meaningless to us, So really, the whole transpersonal approach to sexology is, I think, a contemporary tantric approach. So, when I teach people this, yes, all the principles are tantric, but I talk science and, I talk all this sort of, more modern language so that contemporary people can understand how to, sink into this experience, create safety, feel free to explore, take their time, learn to breathe. Breathing is so important. And from that, you can have these transcendent experiences. Yes. At the very least, you feel love between you. You can feel that you're consciously creating this love. Now, to me, that's transpersonal, that's spiritual.
Right.
But you can also, have the more trippy experiences as well, where, sense of oneness, losing track of time, sensing other entities in the space, all sorts of, there's a whole variety of transcendent experiences that we can have as human beings.
Fascinating, yeah. So,
and
So being souls in human bodies and, like you said, transcending, feeling you're a spiritual being as you make love. And, almost like a meditative art. And of course, and we do it. Yes. And the love.
I was going to say, we do it through the body. We do it
through the body, exactly. So you're an instrument of a higher nature. And also the idea of, we talk a lot about Love University, agape, unconditional love. Karuna is compassion, bhakti is devotion. So all these terms kind of symbolize the same idea, giving love without expectation. And that's the highest form of love, which we see that often with parents to children, small children. We see it with actually animals, dogs and humans and vice versa. We don't often see it with adult relationships, though. Because we get to that point where we expect a lot and it becomes conditional, as you know. So I think maybe that's part of your mission, right? To bring some of that unconditional love into it.
Yes. Because when you make love in this way, it transforms you as a person. It transforms your relationship as well.
Yes.
So, the research I did recently for my master's, I studied a bunch of 6 couples who claimed to have reached this level. And, they talked about how their relationship had transformed. And, they feel more together yet also more individual. And, they're just better in the world and they're more attentive to each other. But not in this really needy, I need you kind of a way, or craving the other person. I need you to satisfy me somehow.
Right. Like Reggie was saying, he may have that neediness toward women, and they sense that. And then they put him in the friend zone as opposed to the romantic zone. So Reggie, did you learn something today from this stuff?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I think you've been gone for a little bit. Did you go to Starbucks and meet somebody?
Wash my hands.
Okay. Well, almost. Okay. He's working on it. Okay. He's going to shave a little later today. So, well, Jacqueline, it's been a lovely pleasure to have you on board. This is great. You're in Australia and we're in California. It's amazing. And we see you perfectly. We hear you. And your message of love is very, very empowering. Now, where can people learn more about you? Because I know you have so many things going on. You got books, you got articles, you got conferences. Where can we reach you and learn more about it?
Look, the easiest way is to go to my website, JacquelineHellyer.com. That's all it's called.
Okay, could you spell that for us, just so we know?
Yes. JacquelineHellyer.
Okay.
.com.
Jacqueline Hellyer. Okay.
Jacqueline Hellyer.
I think I saw another website, something about love or a clinic or something you have. What is that? Is that
Yes, I have the Love Life Clinic. So during the week, I'm a sex and relationship therapist, and I see individuals and couples. Yeah, and then on weekends, I frequently run workshops and couples retreats.
Yes.
And so I go overseas and run couples retreats. Not at the moment, not allowed to.
Oh, okay.
So it's lots of stuff, blogs, podcasts, and
wow.
All the modern day stuff that we do.
You have books, I imagine, that you've written that people can also access.
Yeah, and I'm in the process of writing some more and updating them.
Wow. So you must be a Gemini or someone that's very creative in some ways.
Well, I'm a Taurus, actually.
I'm a Taurus, okay. So hardworking, stable, kind of like you get things done, right? You're
with an Aries rising, so I've got the energy. But essentially, I just practice what I preach.
Yeah.
Tap into that vital life energy, and it keeps you young and vital. And
they're very sensual. They say that if you believe in astrology, but they say you're sensualist, loyal, a little stubborn, but that works for you.
Yes, all that good stuff.
So it's been wonderful. We'll
subscribe to my newsletter. Sorry, I have a newsletter.
Okay, tell us about that. How do we get on that one?
Yeah, if you go to my website on any page, you'll notice there's places where you can, down the bottom, subscribe and so forth. Go on my blog page, you can subscribe. And then, once a month or so, I send out stuff with, good way to keep in touch and
Jacqueline,
keep learning.
This has been a lovely pleasure. Honestly, you're probably one of the most animated guests I've ever had in terms of expressiveness and, love that flows from you and also joy. See, I see a lot of joy in you. And that's
the sign of a spiritually evolved person. The joy bubbles.
Exactly. Yeah. They say a lot of the great monks and leaders.
Yes.
They play like children, right? They're very fun, loving. Yeah. They're not overly serious or stuffy. So you have that definitely that energy. And I think the idea that we can gather from this is that really sex really is a deep connection with another. If you think of it that way, you're really entering a spiritual realm. And one of my favorite authors is Khalil Gibran, which you may have heard of him, Lebanese poet. And he said that work is love made visible. So I would say that sexuality is a form of love made visible. And there are many forms.
Oh, yeah.
So it's an expression, of love at a deep level.
Yes.
If you combine it with, like you said, the spirituality, and combine it with, all these different elements that are powerful. So again, Jacqueline, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. If you want to reach us and ask questions for Jacqueline's appearance today, you can reach us at 310-226-8090. Visit us at loveuniversity.love. Email us at loveuniversitylove@gmail.com. Again, Jacqueline, it's been a tremendous pleasure, and we'd love to have you back as one of our guest alumni faculty on the show for Love University.
Thank you. Yes. Oh, I'd love to be back again.
Okay.
Yes. Look forward to
until
it.
next time, it's been a pleasure, and keep loving your heart and passion and romance, and this world will be a better place. This is Dr. Avila. That was a great interview we had with Jacqueline Hellyer, a sex therapist, coach, author, and love expert as well. So she's talking about the way we can have profound relationships with each other, romantic, sexually, emotionally. And sexuality is more than just a physical expression. It can be a spiritual expression, a way to really connect deeply with the person you love and elevate it to a higher point, and also bring happiness and joy into your life. So this is Dr. Alex Avila. If you want to be part of Love University, we're having workshops. We just did a Valentine's recently, a Zoom, where people met each other based on their personality, love types. You can visit us at loveuniversity.love. You can subscribe to us on Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, and SoundCloud. You can like us on Facebook at Love University Podcast. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram at Love_U Podcast. Call us at 310-226-8090. So stay tuned for more Love University. We bring you the best education, knowledge, and fun that you can possibly have in terms of learning about psychology and spirituality. Until next time, this is Dr. Alex Avila, Love University. Put away your notebooks, your iPads, your books, and your phones, and we'll see you next time. Dr. Avila.